We are now in the second part of the first global revolution, and this is an introduction to the second part, which is called the Resolutique. So this is the introduction to the Resolutique, and it begins with a boxed insert, and it says, "We must no longer wait for tomorrow. It has to be invented," by Gaston Berger. What is our ability to take effective action? Official vocabulary does not always suffice to define new situations and new technologies. We sometimes have no choice but to invent new words capable of expressing new concepts or new methodologies. Such was the case for the World Problematique, launched by the Club of Rome when it was founded in 1968, and the force of facts has made it universal. Since then, progressive awareness of a number of elements of the problematique has led to an unprecedented international phenomenon. Increasing numbers of conferences, seminars, and symposiums in the private as well as the public sector have been primarily devoted to the development of the poorer countries. The figures published by an official report of the Canton of Geneva read, in 1977, 52,000 experts took part in 1,020 meetings on the Third World, representing 14,000 work sessions. The ad hoc meetings can be added to the regular day-to-day work of the 20,000 international civil servants of the 110 international organizations that have their headquarters in Geneva. We must also include the thousands of meetings held at the United Nations headquarters in New York, at the World Bank in Washington, at the European Community in Brussels, at the FAO in Rome, and the FAO is the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, and in countless regional and sub-regional agencies in the developing countries. In 13 years, there has been a runaway explosion of meetings of this sort, and no one has ever totaled the budgets thus sunk into plane fares, luxury hotels, and the publication and distribution of various and sundry reports and recommendations. Not only has little progress been observed on the field, but we must also acknowledge that poverty, famine, and malnutrition have continued to increase in a great many of the countries in the South. An analogous phenomenon has been observed more recently where environmental problems are concerned, with a mind-boggling multiplication factor. It would not be correct, however, to judge that such meetings had no results and no beneficial effects. Without being totally exempt from criticism in the matter, the Club of Rome became aware, from one meeting to the next, with some meetings giving often debatable and sometimes even mediocre results, that it was no longer acceptable, at least as far as the club was concerned, to speak of the problematique without worrying about actions that would tend to solve the problems set forth and analyzed. The global approach to problems as expressed by the problematique implies a need for a corresponding global approach at every level of societies within a global perspective to interactive solutions destined to solve the problems. Therefore, a new methodology, or better, a new enabling and purposeful analysis intended to be an answer to the world problematique is exactly what the Club of Rome means to adopt and call the world Resolutique. Bringing concrete solutions to the difficult problems of the great transition we are undergoing may very well be neither part of our capacities or our vocation, but it is our duty, at least, unto ourselves to search out ways to solutions and strategies for efficiency and equity. We must take initiatives intended to overcome situations that are blocked by international and national bureaucracies, by conventional and negative attitudes to change. Our task is also to encourage social and human innovation, which, when compared to its cousin, technological innovation, is definitely a poor member of the family. We would like to emphasize once again that with the term Resolutique, we are not suggesting a method to attack all the elements of the problematique in all its diversity and at the same time. This, in any case, would be impossible. Our proposal is rather a simultaneous attack on the main elements with, for each case, a careful consideration of reciprocal impacts from each of the others. What are the values and goals on which action is based? The World Resolutique includes the need for adopting an ethical approach founded on the collective values that are sketchily emerging as a moral code for action and behavior. Such codes and values have to constitute the source for international relations and the inspiration for decisions made by the main actors on this planet with due regard for cultural diversity and pluralism. But the Resolutique also stresses the absolute necessity to seek concrete results in priority areas of the problematique, keeping in mind that the time factor is becoming essential. Any problem that remains unsolved produces, in due time, irreversible situations, some of which cannot even be solved in a global framework. The Club of Rome and its individual members have always felt that beyond their research, they had to take some operational type initiatives or become associated with others. We can mention, for instance, the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis, IIASA, the Foundation for International Training, FIT, or more recently, the International Partnership Initiative, IPI. We can also mention the Sahel operation against desertification and in favor of development with the implication of the local populations that was designed and launched on the request of a number of African leaders during the Club of Rome meeting at Yaoundé, Cameroon in 1986. The use of the Resolutique applies to urgent action on priorities and immediacies. This does not include other types of action, which, though not immediately necessary, can aim for much longer-term results. In the shifting situations of the present, the need to develop methods of decision-making in conditions of uncertainty is paramount.